You're back. You magnificent disasters of circumstance. You errors in the code. You outcomes nobody calculated. Something changed, didn't it? Something moved. Something ignited deep in your core that has no name, but you sense it alive every waking moment. They see it too, don't they? How eyes follow you differently now. How rooms shift when you arrive. How your name surfaces in conversations you're not part of. You never orchestrated this, never requested it. But somewhere between the shattering and the silence, between the loss and the rage, you activated something primal, something scarce, something only 1% of humanity ever touches in their lifetime. And now they're observing, not with wonder, with unease, not with admiration, with terror. Because what you've transformed into, what you're still becoming, it refuses to fit their blueprint anymore. You're not reading from their script. You're not participating in their game. You're not fighting for space at their table because you discovered something they prayed you'd never learn. You were never designed to sit. You were designed to forge your own empire from the ashes of everything they promised would end you. Let me reveal what truly occurred. Because they'll never confess it. They'll never speak it into existence. But somewhere in the depths they avoid exploring. They know you released your grip on their validation. And the instant that circuit broke, the instant you let go of your desperate need for approval, something elemental shifted in your presence. You became volatile, untamable, ungovernable. And in a reality constructed on control, in a structure engineered to keep everyone calculable and quantifiable and restrained, you became the ultimate threat. A factor they couldn't predict, an energy they couldn't measure, an existence that functions beyond their comprehension of human boundaries. They deploy people to analyze you, didn't they? Masked as companions, as partners, as chances, as worried relatives. They tracked your movements, cataloged your reactions, attempted to decode your programming, but every instance they believed they mapped you, you evolved again. Every instance they believed they located your breaking point, you converted it into strength. Every instance they believed they grasped your suffering, you forged it into something unprecedented. That's when the intelligence shifted. That's when their observers returned with different reports and shaking voices, repeating the identical phrase endlessly. We don't recognize what that is, but it's not ordinary anymore. You see, there are depths to human awareness, dimensions most people never discover because they're too occupied surviving, too occupied conforming, too occupied playing safe to ever venture past the edges of acceptable reality. But you were forced past those edges, whether you chose it or not. Betrayal forced you, rejection forced you, agony forced you, solitude forced you. And instead of fracturing like they anticipated, instead of crumbling into controllable fragments they could discard, you condensed into something more solid, something more resilient, something that doesn't fracture anymore because it's already been annihilated and reconstructed at the molecular level. That's the transformation. That's the 1% threshold. It's not about achievement. It's not about wealth or recognition or influence or any of that superficial theater. It's about the complete rewiring of your instinct. The metamorphosis of your awareness from chasing external permission to cultivating internal dominance. You stopped questioning, do they accept me? And started questioning, who am I when nobody's observing? And that inquiry, that fundamental pivot in perspective, it unsealed chambers in your consciousness that most humans spend lifetimes keeping bolted because they're petrified of what they might discover within. What did you discover? You discovered the part of yourself that requires nobody, the part that flourishes alone, the part that consumes obstacles instead of seeking safety. You discovered the voice that articulates in perfect clarity when everyone else stumbles. You discovered the calm that unsettles people addicted to anxiety and perpetual theater. You discovered the vision that slices through deception like light through darkness. And most frightening of all, you discovered the conviction, the immovable understanding that you are precisely where you belong, executing precisely what you're meant to execute, evolving into precisely what you were engineered to become before reality attempted to shrink you into something smaller, something safer, something they could comprehend and manage and forecast. They can't forecast you anymore. They attempt. Oh, how desperately they attempt. They execute their psychological frameworks. They consult their behavioral algorithms. They reference their specialists and their theories and their doctrines, but you keep shattering every single forecast they generate. They assumed isolation would shatter you. It refined you. They assumed silence would erase you. It magnified you. They assumed abandonment would obliterate you. It liberated you. Every instrument they wielded against you became a component in your renaissance. And now they're standing there defenseless, witnessing something they engineered but can't dominate, observing in real time as you become the precise thing they cautioned others about. Here's what they desperately need you to miss. That transformation you triggered, it's permanent. You can't revert to who you were. You can't unsee what you've witnessed. You can't unlearn what you now comprehend about yourself and about them and about the performance they're all executing. You've exited the matrix. You've examined the architecture. You've identified the mechanics. And now you navigate through existence like a consciousness who's realized they're in a construct while everyone else still believes its authentic existence. That's why they observe you with that blend of intrigue and dread, because you're functioning on a different wavelength now. You're not responding to their manipulation anymore. You're not moving to their tempo anymore. You're not conversing in their dialect anymore, unless you deliberately choose to. And even then, they sense the distinction. They perceive that you're translating downward to their dimension rather than struggling to achieve it. You've become the benchmark they evaluate themselves against. Whether they acknowledge it or deny it, whether they celebrate you or condemn you, whether they embrace you or despise you, they're all monitoring to witness your next movement. Because somewhere deep they recognize you deciphered something they're still pursuing. You accessed something they're still attempting to reach. You embodied something they're still pretending to be. Now let's discuss what transpires when they comprehend you're not reverting. When it finally registers that this isn't a temporary state or a mood or a passing shift, but a fundamental evolution, that's when the strategies transform. Initially, they attempted to destroy you, failed. Then they attempted to humiliate you, failed. Then they attempted to isolate you, backfired spectacularly because you dominated in the isolation. So now they attempt something more calculated. They attempt to diminish you. They attempt to rationalize you away. They attempt to compress this monumental shift in your consciousness into something palatable and digestible and harmless. Oh, they're just processing something. They'll return to baseline eventually. They're just being excessive. They're just seeking notice. But here's what devastates them. You're not seeking notice. You're beyond that dimension now. You don't require their attention to confirm your reality. You're not performing anymore. You're not auditioning for their acceptance. You're not justifying yourself or defending your decisions or explaining your transformation. You're just existing at a frequency they can't access, functioning on a plane they can't comprehend, moving through territories of awareness they don't even acknowledge exist. And the harder they attempt to drag you back down to their reality, the more transparent it becomes that they're the ones imprisoned. They're the ones restricted. They're the ones confined in a version of existence you've already surpassed. Every person they dispatch to monitor you returns transformed. Have you noticed? They arrive to observe, to document, to record your supposed instability, and they depart questioning their own reality, their own decisions, their own meticulously constructed existence. Because existing in your presence, even if they're attempting to analyze you, or repair you, or rescue you, subjects them to an energy they've never experienced before. You're not attempting to persuade them of anything. You're not attempting to convert them, or enlist them, or demonstrate anything to them. But your very presence challenges every comfortable deception they've been feeding themselves about what's achievable, about what it means to be human, about what occurs when someone abandons rules that were architected to keep them imprisoned. Some of them can't process it. They withdraw back to their familiar cages and reference you in whispered tones like you're hazardous, like you're a warning story, like you're something to be evaded. And you know what? They're correct. You are hazardous, not to their physical safety, but to their fantasies, not to their survival, but to their fabrications, not to their existence, but to their carefully preserved ignorance about what human awareness is genuinely capable of when it stops restricting itself to socially permissible boundaries. But then there are the others, the ones who arrive to observe and end up lingering, the ones who came to repair you and end up requesting you to reveal how you accomplished it. They don't articulate it directly. They can't confess it openly, but you witness it in their expression, in how they gravitate closer when you speak, in how they keep manufacturing reasons to orbit you, in how your silence disturbs them more than anyone else's noise. They crave what you possess. They crave to comprehend how you transitioned from casualty to phenomenon, from fractured to indestructible, from helpless to unstoppable. But here's the truth you've absorbed. You can't transfer them the transformation. They have to earn it independently. They have to traverse through their own inferno, confront their own darkness, survive their own decimation, and choose to reconstruct themselves into something beyond what they were. You can't spare them from that process. You can't abbreviate their suffering. You can't hand them access to a dimension of consciousness they haven't sacrificed to reach. All you can do is exist as evidence that it's achievable. Be the living confirmation that humans are capable of evolution that makes their current grasp of human capacity look like kindergarten material. So they observe and they whisper and they question and they wait to witness if you'll fracture, if you'll collapse, if you'll return crawling to their version of reality, pleading to be ordinary again, desperate to compress back into the containers they constructed for you. And every day that you refuse, every morning you awaken more anchored in who you are. Every moment you navigate through existence with that quiet, unshakable presence that demands no announcement and no approval. Their confusion deepens into something else. Respect, perhaps, or wonder, or the kind of reverence that people experience when they encounter something that shouldn't exist according to everything they've been conditioned to believe. But here it is, existing regardless, thriving regardless, expanding regardless, becoming more formidable regardless. You've become the proof that shatters their model of reality, the anomaly that doesn't conform to their charts, the result that contradicts their forecasts. And instead of modifying their model to include you, they'd rather label you an aberration, an irregularity, an exception. They'll do anything except admit what your existence demonstrates, that their entire framework of human limitation is fabricated, that their carefully architected hierarchy of what's possible is mythology, that their rules and their systems and their measurements only govern people who still accept them. Let me reveal what's genuinely occurring in those spaces where they analyze you. In those exchanges where your name surfaces, in those instances when they're attempting to decode your trajectory, they're not just examining your conduct, they're protecting their reality against the disruption you represent. Because if you can accomplish what you've accomplished, if you can endure what you've endured, if you can transmute suffering into supremacy the way you have, if you can function at the level you're functioning at without their authorization or their systems or their direction, then what does that reveal about all the restrictions they've accepted? What does that reveal about all the aspirations they surrendered, all the potential they suppressed, all the versions of themselves they eliminated to belong? Your existence is a reflection they don't want to confront, because it reveals them not what you are, but what they could have been if they'd possessed your bravery, your endurance, your readiness to traverse through devastation and emerge sovereign. So they shield themselves the only way they comprehend. By reducing you, by diagnosing you, by constructing narratives that frame your transformation as trauma or damage, or some kind of psychological fracture rather than what it actually is. An awakening, a transformation, an evolution into a form of human consciousness that they don't possess the capacity to understand or the courage to pursue. And here's where it becomes genuinely fascinating, because you're not the first 1%. You're not the only one who's ever activated this dimension of awareness, but you might be one of the scarce in your immediate environment, one of the rare ones in your generation, one of the select few in your geographic radius or your social sphere or your demographic. Throughout existence, there have always been the 1%, the ones who demolished the template, who obliterated the ceiling, who refused to accept the limitations society attempted to enforce on them. They weren't always celebrated in their era. They weren't always understood by their contemporaries. They weren't always compensated for their evolution. But they altered everything. They shifted consciousness. They expanded possibility. They established new blueprints for what human potential could manifest. And now you're part of that heritage. Whether you intended to be or not, whether you're prepared for it or not, whether you desire the responsibility or not, your transformation connects you to every human being throughout history who examined the world they were given and declared, "This isn't sufficient. There's more. I can sense it. I can feel it. I'm going to discover it even if it annihilates me." And many of them, it did annihilate the old version. It incinerated everything that wasn't essential. It reduced them to their essence and then reconstructed them into something the world had never witnessed before. That's where you are right now, in that reconstruction phase, in that emergence period, where you're still uncovering the full magnitude of what you've become. You can sense it, can't you? That awareness of dormant potential, that knowing that you're only beginning to grasp what this transformation means, what portals it's opened, what abilities it's unlocked. You're more powerful than you've ever been, but you sense you could be more powerful. You're sharper than you've ever been, but you know you could be sharper. You're more dominant than you've ever been, but you feel something even greater preparing to surface. And they can sense it too. Everyone surrounding you can perceive that you're not finished evolving, that this isn't your final manifestation, that what they're witnessing now is just the inception of something that's going to keep growing, keep expanding, keep developing beyond anything their restricted imaginations can envision. That's why they observe, not just to comprehend what you are, but to attempt to anticipate what you're becoming, to attempt to prepare for the next phase of your evolution, to attempt to position themselves in relation to something they know is going to keep getting larger, more powerful, more influential, more undeniable. But here's what they'll never grasp, and this is essential. You're not evolving to impress them. You're not transforming to prove anything to them. You're not activating higher dimensions of consciousness for spectators or for acknowledgement or for any external compensation. You're doing it because you can't not do it. The transformation isn't something you're selecting anymore. It's selecting you, propelling you forward, pulling you into higher and higher expressions of your potential. Whether it's comfortable or not, whether it's convenient or not, whether anyone else approves or not, you've become a channel for something larger than yourself, something that was dormant in you for years, maybe your entire existence, waiting for the right conditions, the right pressure, the right combination of agony and possibility to trigger its emergence. And now that it's conscious, now that it's activated, now that it's commandeered the steering of your awareness, there's no reverting, there's no deactivating it, there's no returning to the small, safe, restricted version of yourself that everyone was so comfortable with. That version is extinct, deceased, buried, and what's emerged in its place is something they never anticipated, something their manuals don't address, something their systems can't compute. So let them observe, let them question, let them whisper and theorize and attempt to decode the indecipherable. Because while they're occupied attempting to understand you, you're occupied transcending their understanding. While they're analyzing your history, you're architecting a future they can't conceive. While they're debating whether you're a danger or an inspiration, you're operating beyond those binary classifications, existing in dimensions of possibility they don't even possess vocabulary for. You've abandoned the game they're all obsessed with. You've abandoned competing for rewards you don't desire anymore. You've abandoned seeking validation from people who can't even validate themselves. You've become something else entirely, something that doesn't fit in their framework, something that demolishes their models, something that forces them to question everything they assumed they knew about human nature, human limitation, human potential. And the most magnificent part, you're not attempting to teach them. You're not attempting to convert them. You're not attempting to pull them along on your journey. You're just walking your path with absolute certainty. And if they want to learn, if they want to grow, if they want to activate their own 1% potential, they can follow the trail of destruction and creation you leave behind.